Hey, welcome to the Closing Time Podcast. My name is David Mansour, and I'm a mortgage loan officer here in Peachtree City, Georgia. And the goal of my podcast is simply to give you some insight and maybe look behind the curtains in the lives of some of the people that you do business with and see who they are outside of their careers. I hope you enjoy. All right, so most people scroll social media and they feel worse, but Chris Dawson is trying to flip that on its head and feel good in 60 seconds. I like that intro.
That's nice.
That was
like
good.
That. Yeah.
I half wrote that myself. I half used a little bit of help. Thank you. So last time we talked, your mom was in the hospital. Is she okay? Everything good?
Yep. She ended up getting a pacemaker.
Okay.
So what's interesting is that she got a pacemaker put in because she was down in the 40s heart rate. And it was like, if it ever drops below 60, it's going to pop it up to 60. And what she just discovered was that she does a lot of calming techniques to relax herself that often drops it below 60. And she's upset because she's like, I can't calm down now. And so
she's really good at it.
Yeah. So they just went back and retuned it. So now it's like tops, it won't go lower than 50, but 50 is where it hangs.
Okay.
Because it's better for her heart.
Tell me a good story about your mom while we're here. Tell me a good memory, a good story about your mom.
I would say that moms are the best.
Yeah.
Happy early Mother's Day. And that the thing that I would take greatest from mom is not only just the sense of warmth and comfort and protection that we all associate with mothers, but as far as how to handle like challenges in life and everything, because there's a lot of different philosophies out there. And I've been really trying to be more empathetic. And she always would say, love is the answer. If you don't know what to do, love is the answer. Yeah. And I've had to turn to that a lot in life, and especially of late. So that's been a nice thing to hold on to. And also, when she starts getting a little bit mean or upset about something, I can say, hey, don't forget what you taught me.
I mean, and other people say it is, what would love have me do?
Yeah.
You know, religious people would say, what would Jesus do in this situation? Right. I mean, it's all kind of the same thing. Jesus is love. Yeah. What would love have me do in this situation? I love that.
And I think the counter to that is like, you know, do we try to like, okay, here's a problem. Do we answer this with love, or do we answer this with strictness and responsibility, and we've got to be harder, and it's a cold world, so we've got to be colder, you know? There's other directions you can go, and anyway, I'm trying to be warmer, which is what I'm doing with Slice of Good.
I was going to say, you're pretty darn warm. Based on what you're doing, that's pretty awesome.
Well, the way I would tie it to that is just like most people, I'm upset about what's going on in the world, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of upsetting things. And I want to get in the mud and, you know, start yelling and screaming and fighting and blaming and like everybody else. But hey, everyone else is doing that. What's another pig in the mud splashing around? That's not going to solve anything.
That's true.
But what I've done in my career is focused on positive news stories and trying to get some good out there. And now, so 20 years at CNN, and I was primarily focused on sponsored content and positive stories with Impact Your World and stuff, which was great to try to tell positive stories. I really like doing that. And when I left CNN last February, I realized I missed hearing these good stories. I needed that for my own inspiration to stay balanced. So I started Slice of Good as initially a social media platform to do 1-minute stories of here's something good that's happening out there, right? And then I populated it on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, all with the name Slice of Good, just to try to start like, here's something positive in your day, right? Yeah. And it's been successful, 500,000 views and a lot of followers.
I'm gonna stop you because you're jumping ahead. You know, I got a script here, and you were off schedule.
I am.
Off schedule.
It's chaos.
So I will say this because you said this, and it probably will jump back to it. But, you know, there's certain people that are emotionally moved when a squirrel is dead on the side of the road or a turtle's crossing. They will literally stop their car and get out. And I'm that type of person. I'm not that type of person.
Right.
It's an animal, whatever. But there is so much empathy in me for minorities and people that are suffering and people without wealth and so many things. And I'm starting to figure out in this world that there's just people that have different temperaments. Like, I think a lot of my frustration, and the reason I'm saying this now is because you talked about getting in, muddling in the mud with these people, because I had an incident where I was volunteering at the church, and I was in between working with kids, volunteering. I was fighting with people on social media over their reactions to Donald Trump's tweet about Obama. And I was so ugly. And I get so angry, not at the person and not even at Trump. I get angry at people that don't have sympathy for the people that are affected by the things that are going on in this world. And again, and what I'm realizing now is that not everybody has that same sympathy as me. So they don't understand. They think I'm surface level just saying, Trump's the devil. But I don't care. I don't care who you voted for. I know nothing about politics. I just care when people are hurting and people are, wherever that is in the world. So anyway.
Well, allow me to say something on that. There's empathy, the ability to care for someone and someone else's needs and wants and desires beyond yourself or your immediate family.
Right.
Which is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful responsibility to take on, and it is a responsibility and a weight. Not everyone cultivates that, wants that. Some people see that as a weakness and make an argument against it. They have that right for that outlook. I understand people who are like, no, I'm about me and mine. Yeah. I'm about protecting myself, my immediate family. I understand that mindset. I'm in a place where I have to be more concerned about other folks. I also think it's wise because if you're like, hey, I don't care about what's happening to those people. Right. So if those people lose their rights and their privileges and their abilities and their freedoms, that's fine because I'm on the side that is not losing anything.
Right.
Eventually it comes around to you.
It does.
Right?
Yeah.
Eventually you'll be the last man standing going, well, who's going to fight for me now? Because we all need a stranger looking out for us.
And that goes back to what would love have us do. So your mom was right.
Well,
so another layer to that, and I think this is why we all struggle and why I struggled in that argument of not being able to understand why people did not have sympathy. In my mind, I'm like, how do you not have sympathy for the African-American community when that is posted? Like, forget politics and everything else. That was my problem. But then I just said, I have no sympathy for a turtle that gets squashed in the middle of the road. I have no sympathy for someone else's dog that's lost. And I know that's horrible. And I know so many people are like, I'm going to find the owner and I'm not. So we all have our sympathies in different places. So we're all kind of hypocritical. And I think what I'm trying to teach myself and learn is that just because I'm passionate about something or just because it affects me emotionally doesn't mean everyone is, and to stop fighting.
It does make it hard, though. It does make it hard to have friends and family where you're like, you're really cold in this area. Yeah. And that's part of your character and who you are, and I don't like that, and that's concerning to me. And I know that you care about me because I'm inside the circle, but the fact that you don't care about folks outside the circle is a point of concern. What you were saying about the African-American community, and it's really great as two white guys talking about what, is...
I'm black on the inside, so I don't know about you, but
there was a growth.
Not black enough to say the N-word, but I am, that's a joke.
Me,
calm down, people.
There was a growth that happened with me because initially when like Black Lives Matter happened, I fully identified and understood the whole, all lives matter. Can't we just celebrate everybody? Yeah. And it took some colleagues at work to, that were willing to be honest and open with me about their feelings and what they were going through and their mindset that opened me to their experience. And it made me realize here's a community that at the time, they didn't know if they were going to get pulled over and pulled out of a car and killed because of what they were seeing on media and everything, that they were hurting. And just to take an extra moment to say, hey, you matter, is something that this community needed. And saying that is not any disrespect to any other community. Right. It was just like, hey, let's take a moment and celebrate this one community to say, hey, we think you matter, right?
If you said dog lives matter, nobody would have said a word. So I
think throw love at something.
I think people were defensive. They felt attacked, and that's how they responded.
But they felt attacked because they didn't come from a point of empathy.
Exactly.
They weren't like saying, "Oh yeah, let's love on these people." They're like, "Well, wait, why are we giving these people love and I'm not getting love?"
Right.
And Anyway,
All right, that ain't what
and
we're here to talk
that
about.
concludes our empathy
Yes,
conversation.
yes. All right, so I don't remember how we met. I'm assuming through Ryan. I guess it was at the Atlanta United. Is
I
that
know
when we
what
first
I
met?
met this guy here early in the crack of dawn doing boot camp.
You came to boot camp?
He doesn't even remember the
You know how many,
sacrifices
how
I
many people
made.
came? And I meet people
And
all the time. It's like, I did boot camp for 4
so
months. I'm like, I don't.
early in the morning. And I realized right then, I'm a night owl anyway, that I am not a morning a person. And the boot camp that this fine gentleman put together, you got all these people, and it's led by the members, and they're all so peppy, and they're talking. Come on, you can do it. Tell me how your day is going. Let's go, let's go. You don't talk to me before my third coffee, right? So
Did you like a bring a friend day, or you came for a whole month?
I came for a month. I
Oh,
then
I'm a
paid
horrible
money,
person.
and then the very next day, I twisted my ankle going around Lake Peachtree, and it swole all up, and
So you did your full month though, so I don't owe you any money back.
No, we still got a debt. No, I forget. I eventually, after my ankle got better, I came back and did it a little bit more. It was just, I love the idea that here you are, it's 8 a.m. and you've already knocked out your workout for the day. You've already accomplished something, right?
Yeah.
That was a great feeling. The problem was it's so early in the morning.
It is. It is.
You're still doing it, right?
Yes, but now it's not a business. Now just several of the people, sometimes 5, sometimes 8, we get together at the same place and just work out.
Yeah.
And a different person leads a workout or whatever, and we just kind of show up and do it. Just
well, hats off to you for creating a community there. And
so let's talk about the World Cup. We both are volunteers for the World Cup.
Yes.
Yeah. So what made you decide to do that?
Well, when I ended the gig with CNN last spring, FIFA Club World Cup was coming up. I had time for it.
Yeah.
And it was cool that we did it with another friend of ours. And now, actually, I think the Club World Cup is probably better than what we're about to do with the main World Cup, because we're going to be there at the games with some teams for some nations that we might not even know a player on. We're at the Club World Cup. Yeah. We saw the top teams of every league, there, which had all the stars. So it was
so the matches are going to be better, but the energy was not great.
Energy was not
for the Club World Cup.
Yeah.
It was not. And it was the first year they've ever done it.
Yeah.
I think that will grow, but like what I'm expecting is more people outside the stadium and all the beer gardens and the fans and all that. So what culture or country are you most excited to see or be around? Like, is there...
If you find this video, please subscribe.
European countries, the football culture there is amazing. So whether we have Holland playing or England or whoever happens to come through our neck of the woods, some of the South American countries, if we happen to have Argentina or the like, that would be so great to experience.
So we have a semifinal game, so we could have anybody.
Yeah.
And they're going to be pretty good. That's going to be exciting. There'll be a lot of people.
It's going to be so many people. I was just at some training yesterday, and they were telling us that the match day -1, the event beforehand, they're looking at like over 800 members of the press just there.
Wow.
Covering,
So what is your role for this time?
Media operations.
So you're doing media again. That's what you did before.
Yeah.
So then we'll run into each other because I'm...
Broadcast, right?
Broadcast something. So...
Yeah.
So, that was neat to see the M-1, M-2. And I think there's an M-3 event at the very, very beginning.
So many things.
I was like, wow.
So much logistics. That's what really amazed me at the Club World Cup, was just seeing how this entire machine operated.
Yeah.
All the pieces that are needed to pull this off, impressive.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things they were talking about was like the timing of the sprinklers. Like that was part of ours, like to make sure the media is not trying to do a broadcast on the field. We have to know exactly when those sprinklers are going to come on.
Yeah.
To make sure that they're not standing in the way to get...
We actually had an issue with the sprinklers last year because we had the one gate opening up to let the players come off the field at halftime. And it was exactly through that same gate that they were trying to wheel out 2 sprinklers. At the same time, the press are running over to try to get shots of the players walking off the field. And the sprinklers weren't going or anything, but it was like a little bit of how do we navigate this space? But I'm excited.
It's going to be awesome. The energy and everything about it.
Yeah.
So,
congrats to Atlanta for getting it.
That's pretty cool. So what is going to go wrong? What can you promise is going to go wrong with the World Cup in Atlanta? Is it MARTA failing? Is it? I don't think crime is a big issue. I'm worried about protest. I'm sure there'll be some level of protesting something, especially if we're still doing this craziness. Hopefully that's all over.
But I'm greatly concerned about here. I'm a Southerner. I want to welcome the world to my city, celebrate them, and show them some good Southern hospitality, right?
Yeah.
But we currently have a lot of voices in the government and elsewhere that are not too welcoming to the world, and they're very isolationist. And I'm worried about the impact of how welcome the visitors are coming here.
Yeah.
You know,
my hope and my expectation, more than just a hope, I believe the whole World Cup event, from the airport to the hotel to everything, is going to be a World Cup bubble where everyone that's going to be there, be around it, going to be working, is loving the international community and welcoming, and they're going to be focused on that. Now, if these people start venturing out, then
welcome.
But most people are, slice of good. I mean, most people are honest and most people are good, in my opinion. Like I think my son lost his phone at school. He thinks he left it on a bleacher. And I said, the odds are in your favor that somebody found it and is just looking for you. So let's not consider the other, because
So you're hitting a key thing there. Most people are good.
Yeah.
And the problem that I think part of it that we've gotten into in this world is we are focused on the bad, and we are focused on the problem and the disaster. And early in my career at CNN, and one of the first big things I did at CNN was covering the Iraq War and the Battle of Fallujah, and saw all this horrible stuff, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember something that came out when we were young called Faces of Death.
I do remember that. I never watched it, never saw it, but I remember
you knew
it. I knew
it was this cult video.
I was very curious, but I was nervous to search for it, I guess.
Yeah, it was at the Blockbusters and the movie galleries.
Yeah.
And pretty much it was a video of people dying on camera. And often it was the cameraman who would end up dying, because it's old Vietnam footage or what have you.
Yeah.
And then I ended up having to see all this horrible stuff at CNN, going through the documentary work that I did. And that affected me. And I was really frustrated, because it's like there are good things happening in the world.
Yeah.
But it seemed like the news primarily focused on how are we failing as humanity, right?
Yeah.
Instead of also how we're succeeding and how we're thriving and what good things we're doing. And that's why I kind of tried to curve my career into, let's celebrate the good. And what's happening now with social media is you get these algorithms that you don't have control over, really, and they keep on feeding you more and more stuff. And I'll go, oh, well, what is this upsetting thing? Yeah. Well, I'll click and read on it and look at the comments. That is upsetting. Well, now because you did that, they're like, oh, let's feed you more of that.
Yes.
And some news organizations out there that I will not name have found a very successful formula in, if we get people upset, if we can get them outraged, if we can get them like really upset about what's going on that we're telling them about, they're going to tune in more, because they want to know what's going on with this thing, because we've got their emotions now. And so the outrage machine, the algorithms that feed us bad things, I'm trying to do a little bit of counter to that.
Yeah.
And the thing with Slice of Good is that if someone watches one of my Slice of Good and subscribes to my channel and likes it and comments,
of course they will,
that will then feed them more content. Because there's a lot of other channels out there that are telling good stories and doing positive stuff. And if you start looking for it and subscribing to it and sharing it, then your algorithm will start to slowly change to start giving you more good stuff, and you'll get a little bit more balance,
So do you think you're fighting the algorithm, or you're training the algorithm or teaching it?
I'm trying to provide tools for people to manipulate the algorithm for a positive effect. But the algorithm itself is skewed to the negative because of the successful formula that if we can get you angry, if we can get you outraged, If we get you mad, you're going to tune in more.
So you're doing both.
longer.
You're fighting it because it's naturally designed
Yeah.
to provide negative, but you're also hopefully teaching whatever part of it picks up on what you like watching.
Yeah.
And doing that. So,
and then
let's go.
What I've done with the Slice of Good News, which is sliceofgoodnews.com, is pretty much, Drudge Report and those type of aggregation pages where you go to it and it has just links to every story.
Yeah.
I built that where it has some of my content, but all the good news stories from all the good news websites and folks out there creating this stuff is all gathered there. So there's always on the page at least 90 stories. You can click by, let me just show me positive animal stories or positive environmental stories.
Right.
And you can see the little image and click on the stories you want and it goes to their websites. There's no money to be made.
So these are real, these aren't like hopeful or memes or anything like that.
No.
These are links to real stories of good
legit news stories written on legit news sites. Some of it is from big sites, like there's a CBS Uplift, I think, which they have here's where they have their uplifting stories. Where I'm pulling all of those in. I'm pulling all the ones in from a website called Good, or the Good News Network and all these other sites that are trying to do positive. I'm kind of being a front page for if you just want good news. Here's good news, right? And sprinkling in my own stuff too, because
that's what we do.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back a step.
All right.
We have not talked about what is Slice of Good. What is it?
So Slice of Good is a 1-minute video series of positive news that is on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. It is not shot. I don't go out with a camera and shoot anything. What I do instead is I take user-generated content that's already on those platforms. Take, for instance, the amazing monks that came through here, which the first person to give me the heads up on it was you. Thanks because I subscribed. I got the heads up on this group coming through and I did a story on them and I took other people's videos that they posted of this group and interviews with this group and the like. And I combined other people's material into a tight 1-minute thing with my own voiceover. And I give everyone courtesies. I follow all the rules of making sure fair use rules of using other people's content. And the idea is like, here's 1 minute of good. You get your 1 minute of good, you go about your day. And the reason why I call it Slice of Good is that in your algorithm of all this content you're getting, maybe here's your pop star material and here's your sports stuff and here's your bad news stuff and all your politics stuff and your angry stuff. Here's a slice in that pie of just some good, you got to get your vegetables in your meal, right? So.
Well, what I love about it is I love your voiceover because it's not just a voiceover. You allow whether they're talking in the video or somebody's explaining the video, then you either do an explanation intro or an outro and kind of wrap it all together. And I love that helps keep it in a minute.
Yeah.
So I feel like when I watch it, I know everything that's going on.
The challenge is how can I get this story down to 1 minute? And I try to use the voiceover just as an introduction and a bridge between points.
Right.
But I love the storytelling, and most of my work at CNN and the stories I produced, it wasn't with an anchor and a voiceover. It was, here's this person and what they're doing in their life, and they're telling their own story.
Yeah.
The problem is people take a lot of ums and ahs, so you got to try to tighten it up. But one of my favorite things is that my catchphrase on it is at the end of the piece, it goes, this has been a slice of good. Find more within you. And the idea there is, if you want more good out there, look inside, find it there,
That's awesome. Well, I just oddly yesterday on Twitter, the NBA just pops up nonstop. The scores, everything. I could care less about the NBA. I want the college basketball scores or football. Like no matter what season, I feel like it's full NBA.
Right.
And it wasn't just popping in the feed. It was like in the scores. I'm like, how do I get rid of this? So I asked ChatGPT, and it just kind of told me something that I already knew, but it made me jump on it. And this for everybody out there is hit that X button at the top and say not interested.
Yep.
And if you're getting full of politics, even if it's politics you agree with, but you don't want that negativity, if it's whatever,
I just found
negative
out
or
something.
sports, not interested. If you do that enough, that stuff's going to stop popping
You're
into your
trying to
feed.
train it. The problem
Right.
is people are paying a lot of money to put this stuff in your face.
Yeah.
But I actually, just on Facebook an hour ago, and I didn't know about this. So I clicked on, because here's some post that this isn't my friend. Who is this person?
Yeah.
It's so angry. And look at all the comments, people talking about it, and I'm like, well, why am I seeing this? So I clicked on it to hide, and there was another thing there, which was to be able to go into my settings, and I could actually select, do you want political content
Yes, that's
from people you don't know?
Right.
And I could choose no. And I switched that today to
Yeah.
no. I don't know if it's going to work, but yeah, you're constantly getting fed things that it's not about whether it's good content, bad content, quality. It's about how long will someone engage on it. And if it's outrageous, you're going to go through those comments. You're going to read more.
Yeah.
You're going to share it with someone saying, doesn't this outrage you too? And that's money for these companies.
Yeah.
So they want to outrage you.
So if you're on Instagram or Facebook and you're going to be subscribed to Slicer Good, the more you share and like these stories and other stories that are positive, the more that positive stuff pops up into your feed.
Yeah.
And I am having to train myself to train that, because we do want that negative. Like, our human nature is like, I get, I tense up, like, what did he do over there? And so I'm trying to get to where I don't even see that stuff, so I don't have to care.
And we need to watch it less. If I could, I worked for 20 years in the cable news industry, and if I could give people two pieces of advice, what I would say is this: get multiple sources, including some international. Check out BBC in addition to your CNN or your Fox News or your MSNBC or the like. You need to get more voices in the room, because if you're agreeing with everything that's being said at you, yeah, that's right, then you're at church and someone's just feeding you what you want, right?
Yeah.
So you got to get that. But the number one thing I would tell people is turn it off. It takes 10, 15 minutes to get updated on what's going on in the world. But if you have that, as in so many homes, that's just on in the background, planting seeds of negativity,
Yeah, that's perfect. You answered my next question is we need to know what's going on. We need to know that that there's a war, or that people are being mistreated here, or whatever. We need to know that. We just don't need to live it. I don't know. Where's the line between that 15 minutes of, we need to know what's going on? We can't just ignore all the bad stuff in the world, but we just can't let it feed our soul nonstop. Like, where's that line?
We want to be an informed populace. And I would say that at a time that we had some of the most informed populace was in the 50s and the 60s, where there was a 30-minute evening newscast.
Yeah.
And that's where you got your news, and you looked at the paper in the morning, and you read briefly a couple things in the paper, and then you would go live your day and you would live your life, but you would check in and watch 30 minutes in the evening. That's all we need.
Yeah.
The other thing is it's not so much whether or not people are getting the information, it's how much are they being fed misinformation, right? How much noise is coming at them. And so that's also part of the challenge, is that instead of seeing non-biased news, there's so much coming at you that people are consuming it and they aren't checking the sources, and people don't seem to care.
They don't.
That they were just lied to. So I'm like, okay, this source.
They do not. I have called people out on
call
posts
them out
that
all
they
the
make.
time.
That's like, here's the facts. It's wrong. And they won't, I'm like, delete it.
I say,
Take it down.
Heads up, just to help you out. This person whose post you're sharing,
Yeah.
not only did I just check this account, and what do you know? It's ran in Uzbekistan, and it's not even a real person, but what they just said was false. Good news. You should block and unfollow them, because this person is feeding you things that are false just to upset you.
But it supports whatever they want.
But
so
it
they
supports
eat it
my
and share it.
vision. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, even if it supports what you are about, you still got to delete it because it's wrong.
And the news industry is getting worse, because.
So that's, you always get my next question.
I've read the card. No.
Oh, that's the next question. You've been in news for years, for 20 years. Is it worse now? And let me define worse. Is the news truly providing extremely biased information? Is it misinformation, like totally wrong? Is that more? Or did we just not have the resources to check it 20 years ago? Does that make sense?
So
I feel like the government's always lied
I can
to
tell
us.
you
I
this
can't
from
imagine.
being on the inside, and the only place I was on the inside was CNN. There is great effort to try to get it right. We have teams of lawyers and journalists. There's a group called The Row that everything has to go through, that they have to approve and say, well, do you have two sources? Did you have to confirm this? And I'm not sure about this. You're stating something here, but you don't have proofs to back it up. They want to get it right because they don't want to get sued. But they also want to get it right because there's a sense of journalism of we want to be accurate. We want to inform correctly. I don't know if every news organization has that, but I knew that at CNN, that was bread and butter. And
Was
CNN,
that there the whole time? Do you feel like that has
I wasn't there
softened?
during the Clinton News Network type of time period where they got a lot of bad press because they were too one-sided, supposedly. I wasn't there during then, but for the last 20 years I've been there, and they have been, we are wanting to present the facts and get it right.
Okay, I got to kick back on it. They
Good.
are clearly 100% one-sided.
Who?
100%. CNN and the other side.
Nope.
They,
I will tell you.
let me say this. Whatever you decide to share might be factual, but if you only share the factual stuff that supports your
True.
side,
Story
that makes
selection.
you one-sided. Right.
Story selection. What stories do you choose
If you
to
don't
talk
report
about?
on the good thing that the other guy did,
True.
and you only report when he does something bad,
Right.
then that is one-sided.
I
And
agree.
that's what, in my opinion, what both of them do. Fox is horrible too, just as bad.
I would say that if I had to put out like where do things land, you've got CNN close to the middle.
Wow.
I would hold on. Let me finish.
Okay, please.
I would put on the other side, like let's say you have Fox News here, and then like the Newsmax and everything else further over, right? On this side, I put like maybe MSNBC and some of the other like Democracy Now and stuff. So if you want like what is the opposite of Fox News, I would probably say MSNBC has somewhat adopted Fox News's model, but for the other side.
Right.
I can tell you that CNN internally tries to get it right. Now,
See, get it right is different. That's different.
I mean, that's
get
human.
it right is
That's
different
human.
than being one-sided. Being, to me, like people talk about research and it's science. It's science. I'm like, I can tell a science, if I give a scientist a goal to
Right.
go prove to me that sugar is good for you, then they can come back and scientifically tell me the reasons why it's good for me. But they're leaving out all the reasons that it's bad.
So here's a fundamental problem I have with the news industry that we have right now, cable news. There's basically 5 stories a day that they're going to cover ad nauseum. And every hour, they're going to cover these same 5 stories. Who chooses those 5 stories? What are those 5 stories? 3 of them, by the way, are not going to make air because breaking news is going to change the formula, right?
Yeah.
Throughout the day. But so story selection and what we're covering, yeah, there could be some better work on that. I agree.
Yeah.
For every news organization.
Oh, 100%.
There was a.
I'm not picking just on them. It's bad on
But
every
here's
side.
how it's getting worse, though, and this is the big concern. As bad as cable news is, the social media news influencer, podcaster, blogger world is worse because they don't follow journalistic rules.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't hold themselves to the standard. They didn't go get a degree in journalism and at least had to sit through a lecture about how balance is important. They are just, and their goal is subscribers and viewership and the like.
Yeah.
Cable news is in a nightmare shape because cable news providers is what provides them the money. CNN actually has a larger piece of the cable pie now than they did 10 years ago. You think that CNN's not doing well. They're doing great as far as having more and more people view them.
Yeah.
But the pie is shrinking. So the pie size, the slice for Fox News is shrinking. It's shrinking for everybody because there's less pie to go around because less people are watching cable. And the average age of the viewers on the cable news platforms, 59, average age.
Well, I'll tell my viewers that all of my facts are my facts. I made them up.
Fact checked.
I made them up. It's my opinion, and I really don't care.
Here's the amazing thing.
So-
We have a box in our hand. With your phone, you can use ChatGPT or just Google, whatever, and you can simply say, hey, I just read that this thing happened. Is this true?
Yeah.
Fact check, please. And it will tell you the facts.
All right, let me ask you this. So I do love Twitter that Grok has that where you can reply to a tweet and say, Grok, is this true? Do you think that's accurate? Because a lot of people think that Elon is very biased. So that means his algorithm, I would think he would set that up to be biased. But is that just all the people that are on Twitter now are the same belief? So that's all the information that's actually on there. Like, do you believe that when you say, are you familiar with that feature on there on Twitter where you could say, Grok, is this true? And it will fact check whatever they said. And I've seen a lot of times it will
I think
debunk
that AI is really good to try to do a fact check, just like you should take numerous news sources. If there's something you really want to know if it's correct, have Grok and Claude and ChatGPT each do their own fact check on it just to compare.
Yeah.
It is fact that there are news stories about Elon Musk being upset that Grok had put out certain information or takes a certain point of view when it's put out facts, and how Grok needs to change and how they're tinkering with it to try to adjust it. So that is manipulation of the AI engine to try to be more than one way. That's a fact that has happened. So I don't personally trust Grok because I know that on Elon's orders, it's been manipulated to try to push something.
So, and
let's talk about Twitter for a moment, because with Twitter, people are like, which isn't it great now that freedom of speech happens on Twitter now, right?
Yeah.
But it
changed.
It changed. It says like, okay, well now these phrases are okay.
Right.
Now you can be racist and misogynistic and stuff without penalty. But now other phrases are banned or shadow banned or the like. You can't say, for instance, cisgender on Twitter. Yeah. There's a lot of things like that it's like, well, wait, I thought this was freedom, right?
Yeah.
So the audience of Twitter has completely changed, where it used to be more of an elite, maybe left-leaning crowd. They all have gone to blue sky, and Twitter is brought in.
We're all in our own echo chamber. I mean, they all went and created their own thing that they'd all agree on.
Right.
So
we don't have a public square anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well. All right. What kind of presence can Slice of Good have at the World Cup? Let's tie these two things together. Not presence. I'm not saying how are you going to market, but how can somebody look for a Slice of Good at the World Cup? How can it show up, if you will?
I mean, the type of good news stories that I think will come out of the World Cup, which I think is kind of where you're going, is not just what team wins, but I think it's the fans, it's the experience of seeing your favorite team in your country win and showing your love and support for your nation and for your team. I think capturing those moments, or maybe here's a kid from a hospital that is getting some love by the favorite player, and the player does the dance that the kid taught him and stuff like that. Those are the moments that I think that we all can kind of like cherish.
Yeah.
There are good moments out there. I think if you want to try to have greater good in the world, the best thing to do is be the example of it.
Yeah. So that's more where I was going. I love your answer, but my question is you end your Slice of Good videos with find more within you.
Yeah.
So how, for me going as a volunteer, or for people in Atlanta that are going, what do you mean by that? How can that show up? If someone was recording them and they don't know it, how does that show up when they go visit Atlanta? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
There is a lot of...
How do I find the good within me?
I think with the World Cup, it is being warm and welcoming to the stranger. We're going to have a lot of strangers here.
Yeah.
They're not going to speak our tongue. They're not going to look like us. Their culture is going to be different. They're excited about visiting us. And I think about when I go on vacation to other countries, I'm excited to learn about that country.
Yeah.
And I remember the people that were warm and welcoming to me and shared with me how to make this recipe, or were struck up a conversation with me at the bus stop and the like,
and
right?
asked about me, and my culture,
and welcomed me. I feel like, oh, this is a nice country. Look how nice and warm and welcoming they are. And then you think about our community, and in our community right now, there's some wonderful love and welcoming that we know as members of it. But are we welcoming to the outsider, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want somebody that's visiting that is not a U.S. citizen that is just being anti-American, if you will. Now, if you just a meme of Trump or J.D. Vance, like if it's just ha funny, he's whatever, that's freedom of speech. But if you come across and you're talking about death to America, yeah, turn your ass around and go. Or if you're,
I'm not saying be welcoming and embracing of someone saying death to America. And of course, death to America, that's the extreme, right?
Right.
There's softer areas of like, what's happened to your democracy? And or it's so upsetting to see masked men on your streets. There's levels of it. And of course, death to America, that's a horrible concept. I'm saying that we're going to have people here that might be a bit uncertain and afraid of the authorities in our country.
Right.
They're going to be like, well, I don't speak English and I have a darker color skin.
That would be
Is ICE going to come grab me and I'm just
lock
here
me up
visiting?
and I can't even prove how.
And now I'm in some camp somewhere, right?
Yeah.
There's an understandable fear and concern about that people have. So if I was going to do one thing to be more welcoming, it would be giving someone a warm smile and trying to help a stranger.
But if you're brown and you're coming for the World Cup as a visitor, I strongly suggest you not choose that as your opportunity to speak out against America, or you may get something like that. I can make fun of my brother. I can talk about my sister. I can call her fat. You call her fat, then I'm going to kick your ass.
See, and I respect that. However, first, just for clarity, people who are here and have that fear, it's not just because, hey, I want to be able to speak my mind and I might not be able to. That's a fear that people have coming here without of course they're not going to say anything.
Yeah,
they're going to try to be a nice thing.
I'm not trying to minimize that at all. I do understand how anyone of, not even just of color, anyone from outside of this country coming, I would imagine they'd have a great fear. I imagine the numbers might be down.
They watch the news already. Our international tourism dollars is significantly lower now than it was a year ago, right?
Yeah.
Or 2 years ago. So that is a reality that people coming here as visitors are going to be afraid. But to bounce back to the freedom of speech, I kind of differ with you on here because, of course, death to America, that's an extreme. Don't say that, right? I got you there. I'll punch you in the face if you come to my face and say death to America, right? But freedom of speech, I was so influenced in the 80s, 1980s, when there was a big protest thing going on about, and I remember this soldier saying, I will defend this person's right to burn the flag. That is my flag. I went overseas and fought for the right and the freedom for this person to do this act that I hate in my heart. I do not support the burning of our flag, but I will fight to the death to protect his right to do so, because that comes to the heart of our freedom of speech, right?
So this is where we argue different points. So in my mind, I'm thinking, if you're an American and burning a flag or a Bible out of protest, you have the right to protest and freedom of speech. If you're from another country and you're coming here and burning a flag, no, he did not fight for your freedom of speech from Iran to come to a soccer game. You don't have freedom of speech on my soil. And this is my opinion.
Right.
My soldier did not fight for his freedom of speech. He fought for our freedom of speech. You don't get to come do that. If you want to do it, whatever, I'm not getting involved. But if something happens to you, don't cry.
So
you see the difference?
Yes, and I completely get where you're at. For me, the whiplash that happened with that is our Constitution. And to me, as a patriot, our Constitution, I try to look at that as kind of my civic duty Bible, right? And throughout it, it's not that a U.S. citizen has this right. It's that anyone who is here on this soil has this right. So that if you come, this is such a great country that if you come here, you have rights just for being on our land, even if you're a citizen or not. Like, for instance, the right to due process. Everybody gets that, right?
Okay. I agree.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
So that would be.
But this is what I want to ask you.
All right.
Who's your favorite soccer team?
Atlanta United.
Okay. So that's it. I don't want to minimize your passion for Atlanta United.
Go ahead.
Maybe you have it.
Talk to your audience smack about Atlanta United.
No, I'm not. My point is okay. So who's your most hated team?
Orlando.
Okay, so if Orlando comes into your stadium and starts pissing on Atlanta United flags outside or stomping or whatever, how are you treating them as a soccer fan? Are you like, you have a right to do that, buddy? Welcome to Atlanta. I love you. No. If it's in Italy, are people that coming from Barcelona coming there? People are going to beat them up for walking on that ground.
Let's go there. Let's go there, because I think the line that we're drawing is, how do we react as humans, and how should our government officials react? Right. That's the kicker. Because yes, I don't think when you have freedom of speech, you don't have freedom from being responsible for your speech. You yell fire and there's a stampede and my kid gets trampled because you thought it'd be funny to yell fire, I'm going to beat your ass, right? Yeah. If you try to do some YouTube prank and you come up and start yelling things and try to create a scene, you got to have the consequences. If you are an asshole and you're saying things that you have the right to say, but you're being an asshole, I have the right to go, you're an asshole.
See, we agree. Right? We're just like, that's to me the whole problem.
But that's human to human, right? You got to be responsible for what you say, but you have the right to say it. But I have the right to get pissed off at you saying. I agree.
And that guy has the right to whatever country you're coming over. You have the right to come to the United States and come to the soccer game and burn a flag outside. But don't cry that you got arrested and you got treated unfairly because your skin was brown. Sorry.
See, that's where I get an issue with. And you keep on trying to talk about an outside foreigner, just the basic concept that, and we're using the flag burning as an example because that's something I remember as a kid, which it taught me about freedom of speech. But I might get mad at you.
Well,
I might try to
let me clarify.
You, right?
Yeah, because you're right. Should the cops walk up and arrest him for doing that act? No, I agree with you.
Right.
Right. But I'm just saying, if you come and do that, and then 37 Americans beat your ass, and y'all all end up in jail.
Right.
Don't cry.
Don't cry.
Yes, I agree with you. So,
people who
they
put on Nazi uniforms and they try to walk around and do the salutes.
Yes,
they get their ass beat. Yeah.
Should the cops arrest that person for coming over and burning the flag? No, I agree with you 100%. So that is their freedom.
That's to me is the line because I was just mentioning in the.
I'm glad you clarified.
I avoid the tangent we went on because I created it by just mentioning that there have been cases of people who are visiting, and the people at the passport offices asking to see their social media on their phone. Wow. You know, and that's us as our government saying, well, you can't do this. Well, we celebrate freedom of speech here, right?
All right, let's go back to Slice of Good and let's wrap up with, where do you see Slice of Good 1 year from now? What does it look like?
All right, so I started doing Slice of Good because I wanted to get some good out there. I'm also trying to figure out what I want to do next, and it's a good thing to like, hey, I need to strengthen my skills in social media. And it's been fascinating to learn the difference of like, when should you post on Twitter compared to on Instagram, and what length works better and what type of captions and everything. Each of the social media platforms are slightly a bit different, and how to speak that language and be successful, and to study the metrics of it all, the KPIs, has been a great education for me, right? Where I've kind of twisted now recently is I've gotten out into vibe coding and built the Slice of Good News page, which is the good news drudge report, right? With all the different things. Right. And I've gotten into coding and how do we change this and how do I bring in more of these type of stories. Where I'm kind of at right now is I'm building something called a journalism signal engine, which is basically an engine that's taking news stories in and it's learning about how to recognize tone and how to recognize narrative and what are the markers for the story. And the reason for all of that is so then Slice of Good can pull out of that, well, these stories are about Slice of Good. Let's bring that onto the page. This one's about politics. Let's not pull that in.
Yeah.
This one has a happy ending. Let's bring this one in. This one here is just, it's about the environment and I was talking about how we're all going to die when the icebergs melt. that's not a slice of good, right?
Yeah.
We want uplifting and inspiring. So it's helping me curate the content that I want, but I'm also building an engine that hopefully I could use more and more to try to navigate the media out there to say, okay, is this news source bias? Is this story?
Are you having a David day?